Rock and roll music, like other genres, has been shaped by the artists and bands of yesterday, who have contributed to the popular category with their songs and albums. Some of the songs of the pioneers are still listened and remembered to this day and are considered priceless. The Beatles and the Rolling Stones are the two magnificent bands that have paved the road to rock and roll music. Their songs may be decades old, but they are still heard and appreciated by people today. Although the Beatles and the Rolling Stones are the bands of the 1960s, they are not the same. How do the Rolling Stones differ from the Beatles? What makes the two of them different and unique? We're going to find out today. But before we get started, take a moment and subscribe to my channel below. Don't forget to hit the like button and support our channel. Thank you. Let's get to our comparison of the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. Formation. The Beatles were formed in 1960 in Liverpool. The people know them from the famous four members John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr. There were two other members who were also part of the band from the start, Pete Best on drums and Stuart Sutcliffe on bass guitar, but they were replaced by Ringo and Paul. Stuart named the band the Quarrymen, but after getting various suggestions by different members, the band adopted the Beatles in August 1960. On the other hand, the Rolling Stones originated in London 1962. The band's current lineup consists of Mick Jagger, Keith Richards, Charlie Watts, and Ronnie Wood. Along with them, there are 5 former members who contributed to the music of the Rolling Stones. The idea of the band came from Keith Richards and Mick Jagger when they were interested in each other at the London School of Economics. Keith and Mick shared the same music taste, and they realized it pretty quick after getting to know each other. The Rolling Stone, the band's name, comes from a song released by Muddy Waters, a blues singer who Keith and Mick idolized and admired. It was the common liking of the members that led to the unique name of the band. The Beatles and the Rolling Stones both contributed to rock music in their unique way, but their music was different from each other in many aspects. Before the Beatles were introduced, the world was not affected by music. It had no impact on their lives, beliefs, philosophies, and other areas. But when Beatlemania hit the States, the focus of the music from storytelling, love, and such generic topics was totally shifted. The Beatles ventured into changing people's life by incorporating their views on different world situations in their songs. They were one of the first people who challenged the established social norms and the majority beliefs. The people very much liked them for the message they conveyed through their music. The Beatles wrote songs about changing the world, peace, and rebellion, and people listened to their views. They gained a lot of popularity among the American youth. They picked up the major and complex world issues and portrayed them in their music in a simple and easy way. They used their fame to promote their ideas, and people started to get involved in what was happening in the world. The Beatles made people adopt different viewpoints on different world situations. Many bands that came after them followed in their footsteps, and the Rolling Stones were one of them. When it comes to the Rolling Stones' music, they never followed trends or what was popular. Instead, they made music they loved. Keith Richards described it as, "All we've got to do is what we want to do, and the fans would love it. That's what we're about, because if we love it, a certain thing comes from it." Keith introduced open tuning from the album Let It Bleed, which became a prominent and unique part of his latter albums. Mick Jagger left behind the signature dancing fearlessly in front of the crowd, which no band could ever replicate. But the most striking thing that made the Rolling Stones different was their sound. In experimenting with 5-string open tunings on Let It Bleed, Keith Richards created songs that are impossible to replicate in the standard 6-string tuning of a guitar. The Rolling Stones left a definitive mark on the world with their music that no band could replicate. Innovation. Now that we're talking about the type of music both bands produced, how can we forget about the innovations they brought to the industry? The Beatles were the pioneers of double tracking, backmasking, feedback, multi-tracking audio loops, stereo, overdubbing, distortion, etc. Most of the modern stereo recording techniques we see today are because of the innovation of the Beatles. They were the first to print lyrics on the album, the first studio band, the first to record satellite television broadcasts, perform a stadium show, and make a music video. There is definitely more innovations of the Beatles, but you can get a pretty good idea of how many firsts the Beatles achieved because of their innovation and creativity that took them to another level. Talking about the Stones, they pioneered home recording and the use of a mobile recording rig, developed a trademark logo that didn't even include their name, reveled in being punks and rebels, and were the first ones to incorporate modern designs into their record sleeves, as they did with the 3D on their Satanic Majesty's Request and the zipper on Sticky Fingers. They were very creative with their type of instruments, which included electric pianos, marimbas, etc. The Rolling Stones did great with their innovations, even though the Beatles did more. Before moving forward in the video, I would like to thank you guys for sticking around. We have some more amazing distinguishing facts between the Beatles and the Stones coming in our video, so stay with me till the end. Durability. Bands are created, but the members don't always stick together for a long time. The Beatles were a band for almost 8 years, and after that, they broke up. Unlike the Beatles, the Stones are still together, and it has been more than 56 years since the band was formed. Unlike the Beatles, Keith Richards and Mick Jagger have stayed together for more than half a century. The Beatles barely made it together for a decade. The Rolling Stones are still alive and are playing to some of the sold-out crowds in the world's biggest venues. Drug usage. The Beatles were introduced to marijuana in 1964 in New York by Bob Dylan. All the members of the band were somehow involved with substance usage. McCartney was arrested and fined several times for drug possession in the late 70s and 80s. He even served a week-plus stint in Tokyo for possession. Lennon developed a heroin addiction in the late 60s, which alienated him from the other band members. The Stones were also caught up in the drinking and smoking cycle. Jagger received a 3-month jail sentence in 1967 for possession of amphetamines. However, the biggest addict of the band was the lead guitarist Keith Richards, who remains alive today despite having reportedly once nursed a $16,000 a week habit. He was repeatedly plastered across the front pages after numerous arrests involving marijuana, heroin, and cocaine. Keith made some bizarre confessions in his interviews involving addiction. One time, he mentioned snorting some of his dad's ashes with other stuff. Both of the bands have some history with substance abuse and were reported for it. Best work. Both bands produced some of the best and most high-quality music during their reign. Even the worst Beatles albums are considered to be good. If we talk about the best Beatles album, it's definitely A Hard Day's Night. If you are a Paul person, you'll like Revolver. If John is your bag, you probably love Rubber Soul. If you want groundbreaking rock performance, it's Sgt. Pepper. Eclecticism, The White Album, harmonic beauty, and studio sophistication, Abbey Road. On the other hand, the Rolling Stones were best at mastering pop rock, hard rock, jazz rock, country rock, and confessional rock. Sticky Fingers by the band is one of the greatest albums ever produced. Taylor and Keith did great work on the guitars, and Charlie contributed in the best way possible as the rock drummer. In short, the Sticky Fingers by the Rolling Stones is a flawless album. Their legacy. The only surviving members of the Beatles are Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr, but the memory of the band lives on to this day. During their peak, the Beatles were able to score 7 Grammy Awards and were even introduced into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in the year 1988. All 4 members of the band were made members of the Order of the British Empire by Queen Elizabeth II in the year 1965. The Rolling Stones, on the other hand, won 2 Grammys and took home the Lifetime Achievement Award in 1987. Up to this day, the Stones create and present their music to the world. They are known for their evolving styles that incorporated rhythm and blues. The Beatles and the Rolling Stones both played a major role in the rock music revolution. Both of these bands created music that the world cherished. This was a short comparison between the 2 rock bands. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon to get all the notifications of my recent uploads. Are you a Beatle fan or a Stones follower? Tell me in the comment section below. Also, I would love to know your favorite album by any of the 2 bands. Share this video with your music-loving friends and help me grow my channel. This was all from my side today. See you guys soon. Stay tuned and keep watching my videos.